Swipe Life is a podcast about relationships. Most of us are in or long to be in a relationship. We all struggle with intimacy, sex, love, and how to communicate effectively. Swipe Life is a forum to share your dating relationship experiences. We are looking for people who want to talk about it, all of it. So I'm here today with Eddie J, who just finished a workout around the corner. And tell me about that.
Well, my workout today involved just the usual, lots of heavy shit that we lifted at a gym where there's lots of unicorns and rainbows. There was a girl who told me that her entire workout program was so that she could, quote, be better at bouncing backwards on the D. So my current workout program is designed because I have a particular gentleman that I like to have sex with who is looking for me to be able to maintain a certain position that requires a lot of shoulder strength. My current program is built to kind of help stabilize my core so that I can balance on my shoulders, almost like in a reverse headstand. And he's a fitness professional, how I think you probably can understand that is... It requires a lot of strength to maintain.
It's very important, and it actually is something that sometimes I'll admit that I think about if I'm watching someone train, if they can hold themselves in plank, one of the first things I think about is like, how do you have sex?
Yeah.
You know, you have to be strong. And
must be what they call a pillow princess. If you can't hold the plank, then obviously you must just lay there.
I just think about it more like a seal, what a seal might look like having, as a seal would just sort of like slide up and down on somebody. They can't support themselves, so they don't have arms. That's the vision I get. So you never want to be a seal in bed.
Oh God, no.
That's definitely something that you don't want. So it's all about sex for the workout. For the girl, she wants to be better at that. For you want no.
I was just really happy that was exactly what she said. Like, I'm not even sugarcoating. She straight up did it, and it was almost like she had a movement that went with it too. So it was even funnier. I mean, mine is legit.
So she did the movement when she said.
And it was like out of nowhere. I mean, this was a girl who was talking about Star Trek a minute ago, and then all of a sudden she just like turns into this like, oh, all right, freak in the sheets.
You have to be careful these days too in response to those things. Like I would probably just say, wow, that sounds very nice, and leave my comment at that.
Fair. No, and that is a good point.
I don't want to hashtag me too.
Exactly. No,
I don't want that.
We're at I go to a very gay gym, so it does though beg the question of. When I'm talking about sex around men or women, just being sensitive to boundaries and accidental entendres or flirting that I don't mean to do.
Right. Do you think, though, with that being said, that she was sort of like, okay, Eddie, and Eddie's here with us today. Do you think that she knew that, like, okay, Eddie's gay, so, like, I'm safe, somehow, quote, unquote, safe to make that comment to you?
At the gym that I go to, I think I think there's a definite safety that a lot of, particularly I see women and gay men feel. And to me, what makes it so special is that, growing up gay, sports and the gym and PE were places that I was super bullied. Were not places that I was welcome, or places that were just disgusting for a gay kid to be around, like me. So finding a gym where I'm not bullied and I'm sort of welcomed, and there isn't this like, I don't know, super masculine douchebaggery happening where we all just want to see how strong we get. And there's like a little bit of love and acceptance of where you're at. Allows me to be like, oh, those worlds are not off limits to me. Before that gym, I never felt like those worlds were even in my world. And I don't really want to do like the gay sports thing because I'm just not competitive. So, but I need to have a fitness life, and I'm not disciplined enough to do it by myself. So it's nice that there's, nice that I found a place to do it. And I think that for women, it's a little bit similar in that there isn't a leering dudes. There isn't like a leering dude construct within the space. There's a very safe space to talk about sex. But even in that, you have to be careful. No matter where it is. I think it's just being really sensitive about how we talk about sex.
This is a good topic though too, because I'm just starting to realize that there's that sense, that women have when in the gym about guys. And even for me, I was talking with another trainer the other day, and she was describing an instance where guys like to come up and mansplain things to her or teach her something. And I've been, guilty, I think, sometimes of doing that, but not because I was hitting on someone, because sometimes when I'm in the gym, I see people doing things that I really feel like with just a couple of seconds of me giving them a different instruction, they could they could benefit from the exercise, you know. So I might say, hey, can I like, can I give you a tip, for a second, or say something to them or something. And now I'm a little bit leery about it, and I don't want them to, I definitely don't want to make anyone uncomfortable, And it's also interesting that you bring up that point about, being gay and the gym and high school and all those things, because I mean, I come from a place where, it was interesting for me being in high school, where it was funny, where there were kids who were different, right? And the difference that they had for me at that time, and also me being really unaware of what gay was or who was gay, and the difference was actually that they were gay, right? And they were probably uncomfortable, and they happened to be just that, and they were in the class with me, or the gym class or whatever, but and now this being said too, maybe they were not as athletic, but perhaps there were other kids. With that being said though too, there were probably other gay kids in the class who were incredibly athletic, but just because they were athletic, may not have thought that they were gay or anything to that effect. And then as I grow up, I realized there were plenty of gay men and gay women who are incredibly athletic, And so do you find you're one of the more athletic people that weren't as comfortable in the gym, or you find you're not as coordinated, or where are you in that?
I never really had
spectrum?
interest in sports at all, or any kind of fitness, especially as a kid. And then I just kind of thought that world was sort of shut off to me. I didn't really consider myself a lifter, but I really love being in shape. I mean, since I have taken to this gym almost 3 years ago, I dropped 60 pounds and completely shifted my fitness, and everything about my life has sort of changed in the way that's like, oh, I don't eat like an asshole anymore, and oh, I value my body's ability to do some things. I'm not trying to do any kind of heavy lifting activity, but I'm really happy that I have a sense of comfort around the gym that I don't think I would have had if I hadn't been in an environment that sort of welcomed me.
Yeah, I've seen your transformation, and like it's pretty incredible. And I should share that Eddie's standing in front of me right now, and I could see the veins like coming out of his biceps.
Yeah, I was doing some lifting this morning. So, yeah.
In preparation, nice. And he's blushing a little bit too, I should say also.
Yeah, as soon as I started talking about that girl and her rapid hip thrusting movements, I started to get super sweaty. But I think we're just
it's really
also
hot
in a
in
box.
here. Yeah, we're in a really small box, and Sandy needs to maybe put some air conditioning in a bathroom.
Oh,
that was my suggestion.
Definitely needs to be ventilation.
So I wanted to ask you though too. So you saw so I put an ad up on Facebook for the show, and this is our first show, which is pretty cool and fun. And what came up for you, like when you saw the ad, and why do you think that you wanted to come on?
Well, it was an ad about sex, and I'm used to responding to lots of ads on the internet about sex.
Nice. So it was more just it was just reactionary. Right?
Yeah, it was. I didn't even have to think about it. I was like, oh,
right. It was a reflex.
Someone's looking for me. I can do that.
Right.
No, obviously I'm friends with both you and Sandy, and I wanted to support you in this new endeavor, and I think it's a really cool topic. I've always kind of been, I don't want to say on the forefront, but I've always been one of those nerds who is really interested in what technology is doing to dating. I was actually thinking on the way over here, when I was in grad school in like 2006-07, we had to, this will tell you how dated the school was, one of the assignments, and this was an Ivy League school, was to start a blog on a hot technology topic. So I actually picked the iPhone because it had just come out, and this was before apps, before any of that. And I did a blog called iPhone and the City, and it was all about ways to have sex with your iPhone, find sex, date, all of those things. But this is pre-Tinder, pre-Grindr, any of that. So I was doing all this research trying to figure out, well, how are people having sex with this new device that has just really changed what cell phones were?
Wow.
So I did a lot of really early research, and I actually, one of my favorite stories about that, there was a very early website that was pretty popular among dudes on the iPhone, and it was called Rub My Clit. And it was a game with a cartoon vagina that you tried to masturbate the girl and get her off. I have no idea how this came into my world as a gay man, but I remember it so vividly. And I was so fascinated that this game existed because it was so weird. It was just a website, it wasn't like an app or
Right.
anything, right? So I Googled and tried to figure out who the hell the guy was who invented it. And he was a student in the Czech Republic, and he's only spoke French, and I minored in French. So I ended up messaging with him and asked him if he would be interviewed for my blog. So I did a Skype interview with this dude, and it was just the most wild interview with this 20-year-old college kid who had invented this website and this game that was like picking up all over the place. Obviously, I don't even know if it still exists. But my favorite thing was we learned the kid was a virgin, and he had never actually had sex with a girl, but he just decided that, like, in order to get a girl off, this was the mathematical equation that had to be touched using the iPhone sensors in a specific pattern that would actually get the girl to, I guess, come. So I just thought it was so funny that it was a virgin and he never actually had sex. So I published this interview, and it was a 2-part interview, and that sort of made my blog mini famous. At the time, because it was the only interview with the Rub My Clit creator.
Yeah. Cybersex.
Yeah, so I had done a whole lot of research then, and then obviously class ended, and I was not going to continue to have to do that blog. And now look at the phone.
If you only would have known, you could have monetized the whole.
I really could have definitely
thing.
monetized it. I probably would have had to change the name at some point when Sex and the City movie came out. You know, I
Right.
think people would have got pissed or whatever. But,
Sure.
it was a lot of fun to do for a while.
That's pretty amazing. Did you have any hookups through that experience? Like, I mean, how did you find how were people utilizing the technology at that time? If it was pre all of the swipe sites and things like that, so what did you find?
Sure, it had to be created. So this is 2000. Again, this is 2007, and we're in New York. So this had to be all a website. So any website that could tap into iPhone first generation, location setting, location tracking. It was very inaccurate, very unreliable. This is, I think, even pre 3G, right? So think about your data connection, how much slower it was.
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of the late 90s when I would get photos sent to me on AOL,
God,
and they
you
would
would
like
wait for, like, an
load
hour.
in blocks of the photo.
Yeah.
And like just waiting for the whole photo to come.
Waiting for the last pieces. to
Exactly. I
come.
mean, it's so crazy to me to think about that. But there was one particular website that was, I think it was created specifically for like to identify people who were looking for dating or sex, and you would have like a little ping that would blink, and it might have been called Ping. I can't remember what it was called, but it looked like a picture of the night. Of America at night. It was a map of the U.S. and it would show you all the pings, basically all the people who were on this website at a particular time who were looking for something. But it was very unreliable. It seemed kind of like almost like my brain wants to call it like an Ashley Madison kind of thing, where half
Okay.
the profiles were fake or not
see,
real and nobody
I see.
responded.
Right,
but yeah, to answer your question, long and short, no, I did not actually, because of that, find anything. I think I probably started using some of the existing websites that were hookup websites through my phone, but a lot of companies hadn't yet optimized their websites for mobile, so mobile web was not that big
Got it.
back then either. So it was very early for I think most of us. And if you were using websites to hook up, man, that was like caveman shit. You had
Yeah.
to you had to be really patient.
I think my first foray into it, which was probably OkCupid, and I want to say that has to be already probably, and that was in this old apartment I lived in Brooklyn. So if I lived in this place now for 11 years, so that's what 2006, 2007. I'm kind of saying, and my friend was actually the first one who was on there, and he told me about it, and then I was on there, and I got thrown off. I got thrown off OkCupid. It was it's a black moment in my dating history. I think I got really upset with this person that had responded to me, and I think I got upset because she advertised herself as being incredibly non-judgmental. And then I wrote her, and all she did was judge me. And I wrote her a scathing response, which I would never write something like that today. And she reported me, and they threw me off. And the end of the story was I had gotten back on as soon as like the last time I had jumped back into the sea of online dating, and basically they found me out and they sent me an email and they told me they used the word you've been blackballed. That was the words that they used. They're serious, obviously. They said you've been blackballed. Please don't make any more attempts or something to try to get back on the website. So I can't use OkCupid now, which is, I guess, sort of okay.
Oh,
Cupid.
hey. Wow. I think how it actually speaks to me, like if I were to think of what is the like number one rule of online dating and like anything to do with apps or anything with the internet, to me,
Right.
it's just turn the other cheek. The number one rule for me is like if someone flames me or comes out with any kind of a super aggressive statement or it just acts like a total dick, the only thing I can do is just ignore, delete, do not respond. Because if I engage with crazy, and I've had
Absolutely.
some crazy come at me. I had, this is actually recent. This is within like November.
about it.
So I only have the apps, any kind of apps on my iPad at home because I just don't need to be distracted when I'm out in public. With my friends. I'm old enough now. Like there was 5 or 6 years ago. It was just always at dinner, and you're always a new neighborhood kind of thing. You see the new fish that you can find. So I stopped doing that. Now it's only on my iPad. So I was on Grindr, which has a very specific purpose for me. And
So what? Okay. So is that only hookups? So Grindr. So
Yeah,
that would be only hookups.
for me, and I
Got
think
it.
there are plenty
Okay.
of people that date, and everyone's
Right.
got their thing. But to me, I just if I need if I need to understand how far away from me you are at a particular
Sure.
moment, and the features that I need to understand about you as defaulted by Grindr are your height, your weight, and the sexual position you prefer, I'm pretty sure I'm just going to utilize that for sex.
Got it. Because I've heard, which is, I thought that was the case too, and I want to hear the rest of the story, but that like, and what I've heard lately is like, guys using Grindr though too, where like, they met on Grindr, or another one's Scruff. Now maybe Scruff is different somehow, like it's more legit, I guess, to use the word.
I mean,
or
I would
I guess it
say-
depends on how you want to use it.
I mean, I would say, Grindr, like everybody's got their place, like
Yeah.
if there are dudes that are, 20 years older than me who they met, in the bushes in Central Park, and their relationship, they're married now, so like, yeah, it sounds a little sketchy and seedy and hookup-y, but it turned into love. So I think
Right.
I think we can find love anywhere. And I think plenty of people find that on Grindr. I have definitely dated guys I have hooked up with through Grindr, had some great relationships, but most of the time it is a very efficient process if I'm
Got
just
it.
looking for a particular,
Got it.
just a quick hookup in the neighborhood.
Right.
So there's a dude who, like I said, I'm very efficient in my behavior on these sites. And when I was on Grindr, this guy had messaged me. He wanted to hook up, and things were moving a little quickly, and he wanted to get my address and my phone number to come over, which some dudes won't because, like me, they don't have the app on their phone. When they're
Quickly,
traveling.
just in a good way, or quickly like too fast for you?
It was at the time it was a good way. It felt
Okay.
okay. But then there was just something sketchy. I could get this vibe that the guy was a little weird. So I kind of turned it down pretty quickly, but I had already given him my phone number. This is a problem. And he had my address. And so then he would, over time, because I shut him down that day, it was like, I'm just not feeling it. Something
Got it.
doesn't feel
Didn't
right.
happen.
Then he had fake profiles. So he had other profiles that would pop up, and he would say really aggressive things. And then he would randomly text me at like 4:45 in the morning. He was like, "I'm
Nice,
right by
that's
your house right now.
attractive.
I'm going to come over to your house." And he would say
That's
very creepy things. So I've hooked up with a couple other guys in the neighborhood. Some of my buddies that aren't even sex buddies know about this same guy who's got
Right.
this really creepy behavior, and it's just, to me, I never engage with him. I never do anything, but like it's like he's like a menace.
Yeah.
This is like a public safety menace. I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely
Yeah.
have gotten messages from him before where I'm like, this dude is like a
Yeah.
crazy pants guy who has my address and my phone number. And what am I going to tell the police? Like, oh, I was trying to have sex with this guy. Like, I mean, it's there's some crazy motherfuckers out there.
Yeah. Did you block?
I blocked.
You
I mean, I
blocked,
blocked.
yeah.
I'm really big at just, again, turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
You turn the other cheek with him. I turn the other cheek when, so a Facebook friend who is surprisingly conservative posts something that is hyper political.
Right.
I turn the other cheek when my mother wants to dig in on something that we disagree on. I just turn the other cheek. I think it's just internet communication in general There is no sense of debate because everybody is manicuring their words. The beauty of debate is that just like now, we're not scripted 100%. There's the heat of the space, the pressure of the response,
Right.
the nerves that happen in the quiet. When you're online, dude, I mean, you get to everybody is manicuring themselves.
Sure,
and
you can
picking
curate.
persona.
You can curate everything,
And you can
which is the
hide behind the
problem.
anonymity 100%.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Just a different world, man.
Totally. So we're going to talk about. You brought up to me, which I thought was interesting too. And we were at a nice retreat together, and you talked about how you were interested in the person who had done the jilting.
Oh, yeah.
Essentially, and the connection to you with that too is you thought about songs that had to do with there weren't many songs with the person who had done the jilting, and you went on a little bit of an expedition with that, and to find that out. So I wanted to
Yeah.
hear more about that and thoughts about that.
I'm a big, I wouldn't call myself a music aficionado, but I do love good music to help me have the feelings that I want to have. So I grew up with like Delilah and all of the wonderful, like sad radio shows. When I felt sad, music can help me kind of cry or whatever. I'm not really sure if I do cry, but it gets me closer to it. So after my most recent breakup, which was in August, September, I had done the cheating, and I had really done some damaging things in that relationship in the last month that I'm definitely not proud of.
How long were you guys together?
A year,
Okay.
and I'm still working through it. Still definitely, trying to understand what happened and what the things that I need to learn from it. But one of the things immediately that I started to think about was, gosh, I just wish I could make a playlist. So I would make like a sad song playlist, but it was more focused on I miss you, or more focused on I want you back, or more focused on I'm so sorry for this horrible thing I did to you so that I can get you back. And it didn't matter what genre I went to, because I'm pretty agnostic when it comes to genre. I grew up country, I like Broadway, I'll do hip hop, I'll do regular pop. I will probably not get into a lot of heavy metal, but I just don't understand it. So maybe I need to dig into it. I wouldn't necessarily think to go there for sad love songs, but maybe it's there. I don't know. I'm open to it if someone knows one. Anyhow, so I kept digging, and I just didn't.
Cinderella, Don't Know What You Got Till It's Gone, 1986.
Okay. Is that
That's my really glam bad metal reference for today.
good? Well, maybe
I
need to check that out.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Well, when we get out, let's pull it up on Spotify. I'd like to add it to my playlist.
We'll do it.
But
I don't know.
honestly, I was just thinking, back in the day, I would have had to go to the radio for that, or stumble through a record store, or I probably would have made him like a sad mixtape or something. I mean, I've done all of those things. I have the benefit of being right at that generation, right before I graduated college the year Facebook became a thing. So I have memory of cassette tapes, good memory of cassette tapes and CDs
me
and
too,
things that
sure.
just don't exist anymore. But now it's like all Spotify, and I go to Spotify and YouTube, and I'm just disappointed at the music that just says, you did a bad thing and now you got to sit with it. Not you did a bad thing and let's try to get the guy back, or you did a bad thing and it's from the other point of view of like, I've been hurt.
You were really trying to, in this particular case, what I'm getting from it is own what you did, not try to get him back or do anything like that, and just kind of sit with it and maybe have an experience around that and learn from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did find a couple of songs, I would say, but it did surprise me in how hard that was to tap into, because there was a very specific emotion. And I feel like there's a great quote, right? There's only like 4 types of songs. There's like love songs and happy songs, and then there's like New York, New York. I think that's like a legit quote from somebody.
Right,
that talks
right,
about that.
right.
So to me, I was like, there must be a song for this emotion. And I just really, I struggled to tap into it. So it's a little
Was there
surprising.
one that you found? Did you find one that...
I don't know if I found it or if I sort of made it that, but last October was like gay Christmas for me, because Miley Cyrus and Pink and Kelly Clarkson and Kesha, and I'm probably forgetting one, like everybody was coming out with an album last October, and Pink.
That is a gay Christmas.
It was great. Every week, man. Every single week, it was like, and there was duets with Dolly Parton on the album. It was just
You're a huge Dolly Parton fan.
big.
By the
Dolly
way.
Parton fan. Yeah,
You should,
yeah.
you should say.
Yeah, it is very true. And so I was just really happy about that. But there's a Pink song called "But We Lost It," and that was a pretty good one on her new album. But I can't tell again if like, you know, when you're feeling something and you hear a song and it's like, oh, I'm listening to Margaritaville, but this is what I'm going to make it about right now. Like,
Yeah. All the
just
time.
like,
all the
I'm
time.
like, I'm pretty sure this isn't what Jimmy Buffett was singing about, but I'm gonna make this about me being really, really sad. It's my own damn fault. So maybe it is. Maybe Margaritaville was the song I should have listened to all along. I never thought about that.
Would that have preempted the behavior is the question. But I wanted to ask you about that, and maybe you could talk about like what happened in that relationship, and like talk about like how it went down for you, and like because I think a year is a substantial amount of time, and maybe how you guys met in the story.
Yeah, well, it's a good one.
Okay, cool.
I don't. It was the longest relationship I ever had, and we actually met on a very, I think, swipe life type of meet cute. So I go to a gym, like I said, that's
Right.
got a lot of happy sexual energy and happy gay boys. And there was a dude at the gym who is married with a kid, and he's gay married with a kid.
Okay.
So he's got like the cake, and he can eat it too. He's got,
Right.
like all of the things. As one of my friends described it, he's living the heterosexual achievement plan. He has the husband and the kid, and he's gonna,
Right.
he's got the things. Now I think he lives in the suburbs. Great
Yeah, I'm
job.
still trying to figure that one
Wonderful
out,
man.
too.
He's a good
Yeah.
guy, but he kept sending me dick pics
Okay.
via Facebook Messenger. And so I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm not, I don't want to be the side piece for this dude. So he kept sending them to me, and I kept being like, no, thank you. You have all the things. I am single. I do not need to, like, surround myself with men that are just looking, for a side piece. I would like to have a different thing.
Right. So he was together with his partner at the time. Right.
And his baby. Yeah.
Got it.
So anyway, he was living his life, whatever. No judgment to open relationships or all that thing. Like this is just what happened and my reaction to it. So I kind of got worn down over time from the dick pics, and he said, "Hey, there's a sex party on a Tuesday night down the street from your office. Do you want to stop there on your way home?" And I was like,
Was there one dick pic in particular that just sort of broke the camel's back? It was cumulative.
Oh,
You were
yeah.
beaten down by dick, essentially.
Yeah, I don't know. I
yeah.
don't know I can't think of what the moment was, but I
Right. You were
I
like,
think it
all
was the
right.
Christmas morning. Actually, now that you say it, how there was a
Okay.
Christmas morning
Santa brought
exchange,
that.
and I just was
Yeah.
thinking, I don't think I want to spend my Christmas morning as the other woman in somebody else's relationship.
Sure.
That might have been the dick that broke
Right.
the camel's back.
Right.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that.
Hmm.
Anyhow, so anyway, I go to this.
Mm-hmm.
I decided I would go to this party that he was inviting me to because I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I just got to get this dude off my back. So I go to
Mm.
the party, and it's a take your clothes off when you get there kind of thing. And it's like 7:00 on a Tuesday night. I can't think of any. It's not sexy time. So
Mm-hmm. Right.
I'm determined just to be like, this is not a thing. So stop trying to have sex with me.
I just
and
have
send me
I just have
dick
to
pics.
say now, was there any inkling that you had inside that this was really not why you were going there? Like, was there any thought maybe that perhaps I've been there, where you're like, I'm going to tell this person that this is it, and I'm going to go to her apartment to do it, and it's all just going to be okay. But did you have any idea, like, in the process to be like, maybe I'm not really going there for that?
If anything, Hal, I would say I had in my head, I'm going to go there, I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to tell it.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Cool.
But that was not the reality. I got
Right.
there, and I was very like, no, I don't want to do this either. Again, Tuesday night, 7:00, not sexy time. So anyway, going through after I said that, I did a lap through the party, just like Cher says in Clueless, let's do a lap before we commit to a location. So I did a lap,
Right.
and I see a guy. We hook up. We have a really, really great connection. Just really quick, good sex. And, again, swipe life.
Right.
I did not have my phone because you can't have your phone in these environments. And,
Where would you put it? Right.
nobody remembers phone numbers anymore. It's not like a thing. And there was no paper, no pen.
Right.
So I just gave him my full name because I have a very common name. And I said, find me on Facebook.
Right.
And he did. And that's how we ended up meeting. So at that party, I met this guy, and through Facebook, we connected, and we dated for a year. And, over time, I I made mistakes,
Right.
and we just weren't able to resolve some of the, I think, as I kind of think about it now, largely unfair situations that I put on him, and some of the strain that I put
He
on the
was still
relationship.
together. He was still together with his partner.
No.
No.
This is a
Okay.
separate guy, right? So,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
no.
Sorry.
I mean, the guy that was sending me unsolicited dick pics with that I literally ended that at the sex party, and on
Okay.
my exit, ended up meeting the other guy that I dated. Yeah,
Okay. Didn't pick it. Oh, that's so
yeah.
interesting. Okay, so found you. You guys went out. Right. So how was the segue from like meeting at the sex party to more of like a traditional type of dating?
It went really smoothly. It was
Mm-hmm.
I can't really describe it. You know, I was really comfortable, and I'm talking about it now on a podcast that who the hell knows who's going to listen
Right,
to. But
yeah,
he was
nobody,
never comfortable
nobody.
with that. That was not his kind of meet cute, right?
Right.
So he didn't like that part of the story. I just think it's super modern. Like we
Yeah.
met in real life, which does not happen. You know, that's not a thing.
That's very true.
And even coming on here, I was also thinking about the fact that I don't use Tinder. I don't use any of the swipe apps because, again, I don't want them on my phone. I don't need that distraction all day and that energy.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, the problem that it presents for someone like me who wants to connect in real life, if I think about it, I'm a gay dude. There's probably a certain percentage or type of, there's like a pool of certain dudes that's probably even into me, right? And then beyond that, once you get past some of the deeper things that aren't superficial, there's probably even a smaller pool that I'd connect with. Now it's what pool of them is actually not trying to just date online and is actually looking at like external ways to meet guys. Because that, again, that age that I'm at, you know, my mid 30s, it's a hit or miss whether dudes can actually speak to you in real life, will come at you and actually introduce themselves. I don't like to go to bars because I feel like in my mid 30s, everybody's either in AA or should
Right.
be in AA at this
Right,
point.
right,
So like
right.
my friends that are there, it's like I can't party like that anymore, and I'm not 22.
Right.
And
Sounds
so I just
sober.
get in real life, dude. Like how do you meet people now? It's a big question.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
a special relationship, and it transitioned really well.
So I want to dial it back to that. So you're going out for some months. So where are you at like the 3 month mark? Can you remember?
Christmas, it was great.
Okay.
We went to Dollywood. It was great.
Wow.
I mean, obviously Dollywood is, you know,
Sure. Where else would one go for Christmas?
Exactly.
I know. So then so what happened for you, you know, where, you know, you wound up, I guess, like stepping out on him, or did you guys commit? Did you guys have a committed, you talked about it, you had a commitment?
Yep. Yeah, and we were definitely committed, and for me, it was. I was in a place trying to understand for the first time what an open relationship was, and it is. It's a super hot topic. I think it's a super loaded topic. There's a lot of emotion about it. In my 20s, I was always super closed off to it. It felt like a very have your cake and eat it too thing. When I hit 30, I think I shifted and rounded a corner around like being a lot less judgmental of people. That's a big thing. I just don't think there's anything that's black and white anymore in the world.
Right.
And I think we obviously share some of that learning that nothing is as simple as right or wrong. And I think, so I was really struggling with this idea of how does an open relationship work and how could it work? And at what point am I using that open relationship because I can't sit in the intimacy with my partner? So the other part of Swipe Life, which we're kind of avoiding, it's much more fun to talk about the technology and the sex. But I don't want intimacy is a whole separate topic.
Yeah.
I
So
think that was it.
So at like 3 months though, you guys were committed already? You guys or
No, I think it was about 5 months.
5 months.
Yeah.
Okay, so where did the conversation begin about did you have a conversation about an open relationship with him? Like you did because he wanted to talk about it or because you wanted to talk about it?
That's a good question, the way you framed it. I never want to talk about anything.
Right.
So I would really like it if we just didn't ever talk about things.
Yeah, right.
Because then I don't have to think about how I'm going to answer it
Totally.
or
Sure.
Yeah. And that is a problem, by the way. That's not me, I think, saying that flippantly.
No.
I'm feeling like all of a sudden, oh my God, what if he listens to this podcast? Which I don't think is possible.
Right.
Maybe, who knows? But either way, even if he was listening,
Right.
being sensitive to the fact that there is the behavior that I think I learned in that relationship that was super toxic was not being honest about how I was truly feeling about an open relationship, and also not being, I don't think, being realistic about what it's like to set crazy expectations for someone that they can never meet. So saying something like, I'd like to have an open relationship, but I can't define what open is. It's kind of like,
So there started to become a dialogue between you two. So was there a point where, like, one day, just like, did somebody say something like the effect that, like, I might want to sleep with someone else, or what? Did anything in particular come up? It just sort of, it was just a kind of like organic conversation that had come up about, like.
well, I mean, real talk, Al.
Yeah, well, please.
I hope
yeah.
Sandy edits this part out.
Sandy's asleep.
Is he?
Yeah, he's sleeping.
Wake up, Sandy. I'm going to talk about syphilis now.
No. Oh, that. Yeah, he looked.
See, syphilis usually does it.
He's fully inoculated against all STIs.
Is that a thing? Can you really be inoculated?
Yeah, Sandy is.
A sidebar, I actually talked to my good friend because getting syphilis is really hard now. If you have syphilis, you need a really special kind
Sandy's
of
upset because he has it.
penicillin.
Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Sandy is totally disease free.
Well, you could have a whole separate topic about that, Hal, where you talk about the idea of clean and DDF, which is super gay code for, I don't have any STDs and I'm HIV negative.
Got it. I'm learning.
I'm not.
Things.
I'm HIV positive, and I have been HIV positive since 2009. So I've seen, like, that dating. Jesus, you want to talk about some crazy online shit? That is a whole separate.
Yeah, I was
topic.
gonna say I'm trying to keep you. I'm trying to keep you in the space because I wanted to. Talk more about the open.
So
and
the conversation came up
and-
because syphilis became a thing that I had, which required me to say that I had already gone outside the relationship, and then we had to have a conversation about what that meant. So that was sort of a forced decision. Again, not something I wanted to bring up, but then I kind of responsibility I had.
Okay, so you had you. Now, so while you were together, you were with somebody else. You got syphilis at that time, and you had to tell him. You had to disclose to him. That's correct?
That is the scientific way to say it.
Got
counselor.
it.
Yeah.
So his response to that was
he gave me a really warm hug and said everything's fine and I'm really happy about this.
that's such a lie. Okay. Oh.
Yeah, it was. It forced the issue of I wasn't honest about my needs before. I decided to engage in extracurricular activity. I wasn't honest about really maintaining. I wasn't willing to have that dialogue to push into intimate conversations, and I was really happy to coast in this activity of dating and this activity of we do a lot and we have a great connection in a lot of ways, except for in the intimate space.
Got it. So, if I could ask, what were the difficult needs? Like, what were the things that you didn't want to ask him for?
God, I literally think I'm gonna sweat. I feel like I'm in a sauna.
It's
right
hot.
now.
It's hot in here.
And then you're asking me this
really
question.
hot.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Well,
My difficult. I'm literally like a Southern woman right now. I'm glowing over here.
You are.
And
You are.
when a Southern woman, we don't sweat. Jesus Christ, Hal. What were the difficult things that I couldn't ask for? The difficult things that I could not ask in any relationship for are help with anything, and this is like so basic. I'm like the most basically inept at intimacy dude. I'm such a basic bitch.
Sounds normal.
Asking for help, absolutely. So Brene Brown, give me some of that vulnerability.
Yeah.
He needs it. And I also think there's this construct of really, I've always, in a lot of the relationships, struggle with this idea of like, the other person really wants me to have my shit together.
Yeah.
And I'm obviously like self improvement kind of dude. I love the 12-step circles. I love all of the things I do with my therapist and reading all the books and all of that. So I like to think that I'm working on myself and to see these areas where I'm still finding opportunity to grow and learn. That fucking sucks.
Yeah,
It
it's really
sucks to
hard.
have to admit it to this
Totally.
partner that like, hey, you've got this broken kind of dude, and not, like I don't want to say I'm I'm not describing it as like I thought I was terminally broken, but it just like these like flaws were not something I wanted to show
Sound human
necessarily.
to me. It was interesting. I'll just interject for a second and just kind of
Please, I would
like
like to stop sweating,
to
Hal.
just a quick story where like I would like to be perfect in my relationship. I would. And interestingly enough, I know that that's not what my girlfriend is looking for. I could tell you that. Although it's hard for me to believe that perhaps she's not, because I don't want to give you any room to like see the faults, and even so far as like so. I've always been really good about like when we go out on a date, I check the weather, to see if it's going to rain. And so if it's going to rain, I bring an umbrella with me, all the time. As I like to hold the umbrella for her. I like how she links her arm in mine and we walk together. I like how she's like, you're always prepared, and says things like that. It makes me feel really good. And so we were together the other week, and we left the restaurant and it had been raining, and I had biked down to her. I didn't have my umbrella with me, and we left the restaurant, and she's like, "Oh, you don't have your umbrella," and I kind of almost immediately felt like this, so feeling like, oh, I have failed somehow,
No, the weatherman failed.
right. And and she said, you can be fallible, and it was really nice just to hear that. It's just like a little thing, you could be fallible. I think she picks up on a lot more than what I think, kind of feeling that stuff. So I don't know. I just wanted to kind of put that out there too, to like let you know that like, yeah, I think it's like a real human thing. And I'm learning sort of today that like I can I can be who I am and I can share what I'm going through, and I could also somehow separate that from what the other person thinks or feels.
Yeah.
I'm also trying to learning to separate like what is care and concern and what is being needy. And viewing that in a certain way and having different perspectives on that. So man, it's like a slow process, and I get it. It's hard.
Yeah, you said something about like she can sense certain things, and I think what I struggle with is I like to think and I like to infer that my partner has sensed some of these vulnerabilities. I don't have to voice them. But there are certain ones, and there is a
Yeah,
certain value in
sure.
certain times that I do need to actually voice them and not just say, well, you could pick up on that cue. And I mean, the classic example is the
Sure.
idea of like the like stoic 1940s, 50s dad who never says I love you, but you should have just known it all along. I think
Oh,
that's a Reba
that's
McEntire
like,
song.
I'll tell you, that's where it all comes back to, like for me, right? Like it all comes back to that about like, my dad was a guy who like, when I ask him how he feels, he says busy, and it's like, it's not a feeling. And, it's just a kind of example where the man, very, very rarely, missed work. He took care of everything. There was never any, anything. And that was my example. It was just like kind of like a good soldier. I think so. Like, for me to struggle or have feelings, there's always conflict there for me. So that's interesting. And I wanted to talk about, so let's move forward, because I think this is good to talk about in that relationship.
Committing to it, but I'm not actively doing it. And I
Got
think
it.
if the feeling comes up again, I'm going to really sit with it for a while before I just like impulsively am like sitting on my couch lonely and I'm like, hey, what's up? You look great in that new Facebook profile pic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The first reach out. Well, that's, I want to, thank you for the vulnerability and talking about all this stuff. It was very nice. And even without the confines of the booth, like, I'm happy that I'm happy that we had the conversation. Like, it was really good.
Yeah, you really put me in the hot seat. Literally, this is. I mean, I wish that the audience could see how steamed up the windows are
Oh,
here.
it's
I
like
mean, the window behind me is
really
like.
hot in here.
I mean, I could literally write my name in this
yeah,
window.
yeah. It's a
I
little.
feel like
it's a little
I'm
steamy.
gonna do a little of what the hell? I'm gonna do a little Titanic Hal for a second.
Yeah,
just
yeah. Oh, that's so
and then you
nice.
drag the window down. I mean, it's like crazy. Woo!
I was gonna do a little Midnight Express where he picks up his shirt, but that's a different show.
That is a different show.
Yeah, but anyway, thank you, Eddie, so much, and what a great first person to have on, and I really appreciate.
So where's this gonna go?
I don't know. We're gonna see. We're gonna have more people. I guess we're gonna listen to it and see what happens, and we'll let you know what we want to do with it, and yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
it.
there's so many interesting ways you can go when you talk about like the Tinders and the
Yeah.
insane. I mean, I see some of my girlfriends who are using the Bumbles and the Tinders and the Coffee Meets Bagels and
Right,
Jesus
right,
Christ,
right,
they're
right.
always dating. They're like crazier
Yeah,
than
it
any
gets
gay guy
nuts.
I know.
Tell them maybe they want to come on. Maybe they want to come on the show because
Yeah.
we want to talk to everybody.
Yeah,
about
you
this.
definitely got to get some. I mean, the straight world of apps, I think, is fascinating because I think the gay world has always been pretty clearly fetishized and like there's always a lot
Yeah.
of sexual energy there. But I think you're straight folks, dude. You're gonna get good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would have spoke more, but we're out of time today, so we'll
Well,
stop
good luck.
there. Thank you.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
Thanks, man.